It's your girl, Michelle D.I., Mrs. Divine Intervention herself. To all my helper bees out there, you know who you are. Those that are always helping everyone else and neglecting yourself. Yes, boo, look in the mirror. I'm talking to you. Here to let you know God has not forgotten about you. I've been sent on divine assignment. It's time for Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free. That means 30 minutes for your mind, your body, spirit, and emotions. And don't act like you don't have time. You have time for everyone and everything else. Sit back and relax because if you're here, that means this show is for you or it's for someone you know. But most likely, it's for both of y'all. Deep breaths, love. Let's go. Family, hey family, hey family, hey family, hey family. Again, it's your girl, Michelle Allen Franklin, honey.
Yeah. And Marley.
And Marley. Look, we said we was live. That's so funny that the replay was you and me. But now we are for real live in the studio. Oh, family, we were running a little bit late today. We were running a little late. It's okay. But happy to be here in the studio and got my baby girl with me. Yes, got my baby girl with me today. Yes, I'm happy about that. It is actually Monday, April the 6th. Yes, it's Easter Monday, the day after Resurrection Sunday. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend that we've had. My heart is full. I just feel so full today with everything that has happened this weekend. First off, let me just say, it is just a blessing. I think it is just a blessing to be a child of God. Isn't it, y'all? It's a blessing to be a child of God. We celebrated this weekend by doing a couple of things that we don't normally do, me and Marley. We normally are kind of hanging around, chilling at the house. Her mama is always working and doing something in the community. So we don't get to stretch out a lot. But this weekend, we had the honor, the privilege to worship at the Lighthouse Church at Pastor Keon Henderson's church. But before I talk about that, before I bring the beautiful Jesus into it, the night before we were in Houston for the New Edition concert. It was amazing. Look, I'm gonna bring Jesus back into it. Jesus was playing a whole role in all of that, I feel like, because if you know you've been listening to your girl, you know the New Edition is my favorite group of all times. I'm an NE for lifer. And I was sick to my stomach. When I say sick, I mean sick to my stomach, that they were here in Dallas, so close, and I was not able to go to the show. I talked about on the radio for the month of February for Cardiovascular Awareness Month, them being in Baltimore on Valentine's Day. And, you know, my mom went to the show, told me how great of a show it was. I'm watching all of the things. And, you know, Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free, I always say Saturday is self-care Saturday. So I'm always, you know, trying to have people to do something that you normally don't do, something that releases some good, healthy endorphins. And for all my super saved people, that's not for you. This is for this is for, you know, people that are saved but still love a little R&B. You know, that's where I'm at. I'm in that. Anybody that's in that bracket, anybody else, I'm sorry, this one not for you. This is for the people that are saved and still love like some good old school R&B quality music. Yes, it was New Edition, Boyz II Men, and Toni Braxton. What'd you think about the show, Marley?
It was great. I loved it. I really liked the lady,
Toni Braxton.
I really like Toni Braxton.
Pull your mic closer to you.
I really like Tony. She was really nice, and well, she seemed really nice when I saw her on the screen. And girl was dancing with a cast on her arm. First, I didn't even know she had a cast. So mom was like, "Hey, she got a cast, and she's still dancing." I was like, "She got a cast
Mhm.
on?" The designers are wonderfully
Yes.
disguising it. She was beautiful,
Yes, she
and y'all
was.
did wonderful out there. So I like that.
It was amazing. It was amazing to watch. They they did this tour for one, and I feel like I want to take a minute and just break this down and bring this into a spiritual realm, because one thing is, it always baffles me. I understand that there are some music out there that does have a demonic layer and all of that, but there is something about Christians and music and what type of music that you're listening to, and and all of that. And I'm sorry, I just don't know anyone that is listening to gospel music all day every day, um and don't have a reference back to good R&B, good soul music, jazz. You know what I mean? Like, it's some, all of it is underlining and blending in and blends in together. And so it is. I watched Kevin on stage talk about how he was teased when he first came out about, he was going to hell. I remember Kurt Franklin being, when I was younger, 16, he was going to hell. That was the devil's music. As many children and youth as he brought to Christ. And so it is something with me and music. I love good music. I love good R&B music. Again, No Edition is my favorite, will always be. And so if you don't agree with that, I'm okay with it. You don't have to. That's just where I am with it. But I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I mean, I was very happy. I have not been able to move and dance like that. And I feel like the last time I danced like that was at a New Edition concert, a BBD concert. But it is something about being in a nostalgic place. Let me bring it back. Something about being in a nostalgic um, place, something that takes you back to your youth, right? I talk about this all the time. What helps to release happy, healthy endorphins naturally is to go back to things in your childhood, to go back to things that make you just genuinely happy. And I tell you, I was Holy Ghost happy Saturday night at the show. Had an amazing time. And then Pastor Keon Henderson has a church in Houston. Humble, Texas is kind of quote unquote what they call it, but it's right there in Houston. Um, the Lighthouse Church. And Marley, what did you think about going to the Lighthouse Church with Pastor Keon Henderson?
It was very big, and I really liked the church. What I really loved is that they had an ASL interpreter out there in the front, and I'm learning ASL, so that made me really inspired to learn to interpret, and do that as a job one day because there's not a lot of interpreters out there. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that was wonderful,
Yeah.
and it was just a thrill to be there. It was really nice.
Yes, it was a beautiful experience. And they had the ASL interpreter. Marley's right. She goes to Cumberland Academy. ASL was there for her freshman and sophomore year. And unfortunately, with all of the cutbacks and everything last year, they kind of took that away. So,
But
or
they
they're
have
offering it
it.
online. Excuse me. They
Yeah.
they had to get rid of the teacher. Excuse me.
No, she quit, so it was
She,
good.
well, the teacher left. Okay, the teacher left. Nevertheless, it's not offered in person in class. And one of the things to understand with education and learning, and we know that everybody has different learning styles. And so Marley has ADHD, as well as dyslexia. People that have, neurodivergent students, children. I myself, have ADHD. Y'all know I've been recently diagnosed, which makes it even more clear to me why I have always learned better in the classroom
Mm-hmm.
and sitting up front. So when the class was being offered online, she did not want to do that, which I agree probably wouldn't be the most effective to take the class online. So, nevertheless, for her to be inspired this weekend to remember her ASL roots and be inspired. And I told her, I said, you can, go back to ASL in college, and they'll teach you, to be just like, because most schools, and I'll give a shout out to Cumberland for that, because most schools don't even offer ASL. And that's what I was telling Marley.
Yeah.
That's not something that I know that I received in Baltimore. We had multiple different languages, but ASL was not one of them.
It was really fun. I remember when I was in theater, I was still learning ASL.
Pull the mic a little bit
I
closer to you.
remember when I was in theater and still learning ASL, we would sign to each other across the stage so we could be like, "Hey, you okay?" But you could tell we were beginners because we would sign out the letter. But that was really fun.
Yes. And then what about the message that was yesterday? What did you feel about the teaching and the message? And let me just say this real quick before you answer that. When we went, because I sent the email, because it's a big mega church. If you don't know, the Lighthouse Church with Pastor Keon Henderson. I mean, Google him if you
It's
don't know him.
very
YouTube him.
huge.
It's a big church, so he's a big mega preacher. He started off very small. His story is that he was with another church there that being a pastor is kind of an assistant to the pastor. The pastor fired him, and he still came back and showed up with that pastor, working for him. Didn't understand why he was being fired or let go. Had been told that he would one day be able to, take over that church that he was with. And then the pastor fired him without any, warning or anything. Some members in the church eventually ended up asking him to start his own church. And he was like, initially he said, no, I don't want people leaving this church I don't want to get people like that. I don't want to get my members like that. So he initially said no, and then was offered by some new members to come to their home, start a church. And so they started the church. And he said, he was expecting 5-10 people to be there, end up being 47-50 people there each week. Of course, the church just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And so they kind of reminded me of Jamal Bryant's, my pastor from Baltimore, Maryland. Jamal Bryant started Empowerment Temple. He is in Atlanta now, but he started his own church, Empowerment Temple, and it was similar with that, with the growth. That's so inspiring that you have people that are hungry for God's word, right? And so there are so many souls out there that are just hungry for God's word and just hungry for true leadership. And so nevertheless, they end up, renting out spaces. He said they rented out a school, they rented out these different spaces, and then they started building. And the church that they have now, I think is full to capacity at this point, because when we went yesterday, we literally were in line. It's on my Facebook page. I showed you the line that we were in.
It was about like when we went to the concert, the all the long lines stopping up
The
traffic,
concert was
just
long, it was a lot of
like
lines.
line down the street. You're like, what y'all in line for? Some people in line to go homes. Most people in line to go to the church, and you're like, where is this long line leading you? And it's like that's the church.
It was beautiful to see that there
Yeah.
was that many people. And the people were waiting patiently, because the directions that we were given, we were told to go around to the side. And when that entrance, I tried to go around, they were like, no, that was blocked because it's so much traffic. They have, a way to do it. And so coming back around, I asked the lady, like, how do we get in? And the lady, they were so nice and patient, waiting in this long line. And she was like, oh, 9:30 services is letting out. And so, we just have to wait for them to leave and everything. And then we can. So I'm thinking, oh, okay. So they let us in to wait in the line. And we still waited like another 30 minutes in that line to get in to park, to get in. And then we waited in line to walk in, and we were standing in line. And this is God. And I said this on my Facebook yesterday. of understanding that God always has you where you are supposed to be, and just trusting that. Right. That's a message for today. That one, God, the first one is do something that makes you happy, something that you enjoy, because we're working, 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 right, all the time. So doing something nostalgic Saturday night just filled my cup to be able to have my child with me, to experience something like that. Because I told her, I said, hey, uh, concert like this is not going to come around, you know, it's once in a lifetime, I feel like. And so I wanted her to experience that. She doesn't experience concerts and things like that. So I wanted her to have that experience with good music, quality. It felt good to me that I could take my child to a concert and not, what did I say to you, Marley? I didn't have to worry about any inappropriate, crazy,
Oh yeah, people be
songs
inappropriate with the
with the
mic.
mic and humping on the mic. All these things that happen at these concerts and shows. Did not have to worry about that. It was beautiful. The
Hmm.
second one is knowing that God, trusting God, that He always has us where we're supposed to be. We were in that long line, waited. We really could have turned around, could have just came on home,
Yeah, we didn't
right?
even
Because
think
we
about
talked
it.
about it.
Yeah, she was like, "You want to go back to our church, or you want to keep in
Just
this line?" I was like, "I want to go back home."
we talked about going back home, and I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Let's stay and wait. You know what I mean? Something in my spirit was pulling to be at this church, right? Particularly this one. And so, because there's some other churches in Houston we could have went to as well.
Yeah.
But so as we're standing in the line, we get there, the lady came out and she was like, our overflow is full. The overflow is full, and as well as the
Oh,
church
the church is
itself
full and the
was
overflow
full, right?
full.
And but they were still letting people in. She said that, but they were still letting people in, kind of one by one, or if they come back and give five. And so when she said that, they came out and they counted 20. Marley and I was 17 and 18. And so we get in, and where were we at, honey? It is the
Perfect.
last shall be first, baby. That's in the
Perfectly
Bible.
placed right up in the
Perfectly
second row.
second row in the front, right there by the pastor.
Hmm.
That was so good. I was like, God, you are amazing. Because when she said, um, we're full, my heart started pounding. And I was like, man, I know we're supposed to be here. Like, what is going I don't know what this man about to preach about today, but I felt like it was going to be for me. And my heart started pounding. And so that is the message of, that initial, sometimes you can allow anxiety to turn you around, because we could have been like, oh man, all right, then it just left, right? Again. But I didn't. I sat there and I stayed because something in my spirit was, no, stay, stay. And so they say, no, we not letting nobody else in or whatever. Go ahead and stay. And we were blessed. I feel like I was blessed for being obedient to the spirit. And that is my third message for you today, is to just be obedient to the spirit that is within, and not allow anxiety, right, to overcloud you, or to make, or to shift you, because the blessing is still there, right?
Mm.
The blessing is still there. So just keep moving forward. And so tell me now, Marty, what were you thinking about the actual service and what the pastor talked about yesterday? And he he was he one was talking about the cult, about jealousy, about Joseph.
I think I do remember that one part. I do remember specifically one part where he was like, "Well, if all preachers are shisty, if all preachers are false prophets, then all women are the same and all men are the same."
Mm-hmm.
Or he said all men are dogs, and it was like a pause, and it was basically implying that's not true,
Mm-hmm.
because not every group has a bad apple. Every group has a bad apple, unless the group is made of bad apples. But every group has a bad apple in
Yep.
them, but that does not represent the whole group,
That does not represent the
especially
whole
one
group.
that's so broad.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated that, and I was like, that's a good way to look at it.
It is. I mean, even that relates back to you in school, and how you're always talking about people in your class and getting in trouble for,
Yeah.
everybody, and that whole thing, and how it just relates to all ages, really.
Yeah, I always hated that in school where one person, a small group in a class would get all of the whole class in trouble, and it's made up of good kids or a large group of good kids. It's like, dang.
And everybody get in trouble. But it is in honoring and standing and knowing and believing who you are, no matter what anybody else is saying, right? And then and just the walk, um, in Joseph's walk and the faith and everything that it took. But I mean, he came back and around and just related it all back again to Christ. But just to be in the experience and of the service, I know myself, he just talked about not quitting, not giving up, no matter what it looks like. I shared with you guys that I am in nurse practitioner school. I, have had really a lot going on. This week is the anniversary week of my nephew passing. That's coming up in a couple of days. My cousin passed in this season, in this last 2 months. I've had, another cousin has had some, health things going on. I got some family members. There's a lot going on right now. And those are things that we don't really talk about. We're just kind of going through. You have a lot going on. It's not even particularly involving specifically you, but things that still affect your life. And it can be, just heavy, right? But and it could be easier to stop, and it can be easy to quit, and it can be easy to just say, I'll do this later. But I want to encourage you today. I was so encouraged because tomorrow, my advisor called me and she said, we have, I told y'all I've been behind on some work. And so I had 3 classes. I dropped one class. I have 2, right? And so the one class I was catching up on my work. The second class, I hadn't started the work yet. So I was doing one class at a time. And so she was like, we're going to have to, look at some things. And she told me, some options that I have. But that doesn't come without, possibly being on like a probationary period and blah, 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 and all of this stuff. And so I'm like, man, but I'm contemplating, what to do. And so I was just so full by the time I left. I felt encouraged at the church. I felt like I can, whatever God has me, whatever God has you is where you're supposed to be. And to not allow fear of the what if, to get the best of you. And that's kind of where I am with it. It is, I'm going to do my best, right? With all the circumstances and things that come to cloud your judgment, to mess with your mind while you're trying to focus and get to the next level that God would have you on. Is what? It's called distractions. At the end of the day, there is nothing that I can do about anyone that has passed. It's not really anything that I can do about, certain situations. Do they affect me? Very much so, right? But I think shifting your mind into just trusting God that you're still here for a reason. I don't know who this is for today. You are still here for a reason, and God has you walking in purpose for a reason. So to try your best to not allow the distractions to get the best of you, to wade through the emotional toil of whatever might be happening with your family, with your church, with whoever it is, but understanding that God has you on a path for a reason, and sitting in that family. And so that's my wish and my prayer for you today, is that whoever is feeling like you were going to quit, that you were going to stop, please be focused and be encouraged and know that this is your message to keep going. See you next week, family. Well, family, this has been another divine intervention. Thank you for tuning in to Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free with your girl, Miss Michelle D.I. Every week, we will have the uncomfortable but necessary conversations as it relates to your mind, your body, your spirit, and emotions. You've suffered long enough. It's time to break free. So join me every Monday at 1 p.m. right here on KGLD Radio, where you can fill your spirit with gospel all day long. See you next week.